Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday, a delightful morning podcast of Friday each week where we recap things that have been going on throughout the week and news, pop culture, geek culture, nerd culture, Jesus culture. Wait, that's a band. But in general, just a news show, just kind of recapping our week and seeing where things are. My name is Hector Murai. I am the primary author of the Faith and Fandom book series. I also travel around to cons and do geeky, nerdy stuff and try and be encouraging and all the things. So, if you're thanks for joining with me. If you aren't familiar with me or don't know who I am, you can check out faithandfandom.org for a bunch of geeky Bible studies. And if you are familiar with who I am, thanks for still being here. Finger guns. Rise and shine, good morning, and I hope this finds you well. Unless rising and shining requires you to get Taco Bell breakfast, because you might soon find yourself out of luck. Good morning, Tristan. Um, Taco Bell has announced that they are now giving franchises the opportunity to opt out of selling breakfast. Many Taco Bell uh, restaurants have struggled recently with breakfast options, and they're giving them the chance to stay or go in terms of participating in that. My local one is saying goodbye. Um, so for all the people around here that want their breakfast crunch wrap, they are going to be in a sad state of um, despair. But then again, if you're starting your day out with Taco Bell, I don't know if you're in a great state to begin with. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I think the country crunch wrap was one of the best things they've ever made. It was a crunch wrap with sausage, egg, and hash browns, but filled with country gravy. That was a banger. But if you are fond of tacos and breakfast, you might want to jump on that while you can because you may not have that option forever. Uh, Convicted. Good morning, Lynn. Uh, if you are familiar with the scandal or saw the Netflix documentary or whatever else that happened with Fire Island Music Festival a while back, Billy McFarland, who was convicted of crimes for how badly that went last time, has announced that there's a sequel festival coming, and tickets will be anywhere between $20,000 and $1 million to go to this festival. No artists or folks have been announced for this festival yet, but it's happening, air quotes, and there'll probably be another documentary for how bad it goes. I don't know. Maybe it'll be great. Who knows? In Sao Paulo, Brazil, um, mayoral candidate Jose Luis Datena attacked Pablo Marcel, his opponent in the mayoral race, with a folding chair in full WWE fashion. This dude just got fed up listening to this dude in the debates, picked up his metal folding chair, and went to town on his debate candidate. Now, in some circles, I think that should get you extra points, but it did not work well for this guy. And his opponent ended up hospitalized and was not doing generally great. And if anything, if you had told me in any political circle somebody was getting hit with a folding chair, I thought it would be, presidential races. Um, but eesh, yeah, it's spicy out there when it comes to people not being able to disagree with each other. So that happened. The Emmys took place, the primetime Emmys took place in the past week, with The Bear being a big winner, uh, Fargo getting some good awards, uh, Blue Eye Samurai took Best Animated Series instead of X-Men 97, which I don't disagree with. As good as X-Men 97 was, Blue Eye Samurai was a bit more of a masterpiece. Um, but Shogun cleaned house with 18 Emmys, which Shogun was one of my favorite things cinematically throughout the year. I guess it's not cinematically, but on screens throughout the year. And Anna Sawai became the first Asian actress to win an outstanding lead actress in a drama series. And Hiroyuki Sanada, who's the main character in Shogun, or one of the main characters, became the second Asian actor to win Outstanding Lead in a Drama Series. So that's pretty great. But overall, they broke the record twice in the one night of the Emmys for the most Emmys won for a single drama at a time. So they racked up 18 Emmys, and uh, this this is great, but it's also potentially hazardous because Shogun really did end perfectly as far as like telling the story, and it was based on a book, and they told the whole book in one season. Now they're slated because of the success, they're slated for a season two and a season three, but they don't have any source material. So that could go off the rails pretty fast. Here's hoping not so much. Um, there is a new horror series coming to Amazon Prime Video in October called House of Spoils. I'm hearing spooky things, so if that's your jam. Um, Agatha All Along premiered on Disney Plus this week with a 2 hour or 2 episode premiere. Um, and one thing I will tell you, not spoilers, but just to say this, if you aren't aware, you know how WandaVision did the thing where like it copied some things pretty exactly like I Love Lucy and things like that. The opening to the opening scene of Agatha All Along or actually the whole first episode of Agatha All Along almost directly copies another series, and it's a series I'd never heard of. And which I didn't get any of the references. And now I know what the rest of the world feels like in doing so. But there's a TV series called Mayor of Easttown, like Mare of Easttown, and the whole first episode of Agatha All Along mimics shot for shot Mayor of Easttown. Uh when it's doing all the I don't want to give you spoilers past like the fact stuff happens. But if you are aware that I just want you to be aware you're there's references happening you're not getting if you're not familiar with Mayor of Easttown. There is a Facebook video out there that shows shot for shot how they recreated each scene to mimic that. And so that's out there. The series is going to run all the way through Halloween with a 2 episode finale taking place on Halloween itself. Um, Jane's Addiction, the band, had a rough week last week with the lead singer of Jane's Addiction punching Dave Navarro in the face in the middle of a concert. Their guitarist, formerly Red Hot Chili Peppers. And the tour has been canceled from this point on. So literally, tour starts, lead singer punches the guitarist in the face, tour over. That's how it goes. Um, this week is going to mark the first time a superhero gets his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Batman will be the first superhero, fictional character variety to be on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he gets his star this week. Not only is he getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, he's also getting a Guinness Book of World Records place for being the character to be portrayed by the most Academy Award winners. So that's pretty, pretty big bragging rights in its own self. Yeah. So Batman this week is getting a star on the Walk of Fame and a Guinness World Record, which is pretty dope. Uh all the things to say about this, and I'm going to tread as lightly as humanly possible as we're talking about these things. P. Diddy was arrested this week, uh, and is being charged with mind-blowing amounts of offenses and scandals and crimes against humanity in general. Um, so what I'm going to say about this, it's bad. There's one. Um, and I'm going to say this. There's a Bible verse that I wanted to pull up before I misquoted it. Um, when Cat Williams at the beginning of the year made his predictions about uh Diddy and saying that this is going to be the year of things coming to light and the chickens are coming home to roost and all this stuff was becoming public, half the world took him seriously, half the world thought he was a bit bonkers and drunk. But I gotta say, in terms of accuracy, what Cat Williams said and predicted has been very accurate in terms of this scenario. To terms of videos, to footage, to accusations, to more testimonies coming out. Um, it's bad enough, and I'm not going to give you a list of the things that Diddy's charged from. You can look that up on your own if you have a desire to. Um, I am going to use this Bible verse because it's my podcast. I'll do what I want. Um, Ephesians 11:5 verse 11 says this: have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. They've been exposed. It is shameful to even mention what the disobedient do in secret. But everything exposed by light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes a light. That is why it is said, wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. So I'm not going to spend my time going through the laundry list of shenanigans that Diddy has been accused of, has committed, or been involved in. But I will say this: do better, all of us. Um, and be careful out there because it's dangerous. And I would encourage you that for every time there's more gossip, more tea, more drama unfolding about this, rather than just treating it as an onlooker, pray about it as well. Because for all of these things to have happened, from what's known to what's alleged, there's a lot of damage that's been done to people and their hearts. And there's probably more than we're ever going to actually see. And we need to pray for the people that have been affected by this and the people who are still caught up in this. Diddy has currently been placed on suicide watch after more things came out this morning regarding someone who's currently an inmate. And, but yeah, he was placed on suicide watch this morning. So it's rough out there. And, you know, there's going to be lots of jokes. There's going to be lots of Saturday Night Live skits and cultural references about this for a long time. But you got to realize we're watching one of the most successful, powerful people at one point in time in our culture completely unraveling on a public scale. And whether we want to pause and recognize this or not, this is going to affect us long term. So just to say that. But as always, I want to encourage you, pray for the people that are in drama and struggling because one day it could be us, it could be something different. Um, Everything I've heard is horrible. It makes me sad. And, but again, I'm not wasting my airtime or your ear time to go over the list of things, but it's rough. Um, A man, a famous French YouTuber called Intoxac, or let me say, Inoxtag. Okay, a French YouTuber named Inoxtag climbed Mount Everest in One Piece cosplay. Now he had all the jackets and everything else, but Inoxtag climbed all the way to the top of Mount Everest wearing a Luffy One Piece straw hat. Um, and he said that he was inspired to chase after his dreams by the anime. And I think that's neat. I think that's a great one of the great things anime can do, especially things like One Piece that encourage us and inspire us to go beyond plus ultra, even though that's not my hero. I could, that's not One Piece, but uh yeah, that happened. So I think that's pretty cool as well. Somebody actually got inspired by anime and climbed Mount Everest. Uh there has been some crazy stuff going on in Lebanon this week as older technology is being hacked and weaponized by Hezbollah. Hezbollah fighters have did something where they caused pagers to explode. And not to make light of it, but one of the first news reports I saw when this happened was people said, people are still using pagers, but yes, they are. But simultaneously, a code was sent out that caused pagers all across Lebanon to explode. 9 people were killed, and thousands of people were injured as all the pagers exploded simultaneously. Then a few days later, more, and I'll pass the number when I go through my notes later, but more people were injured as a second wave of that attack took place. Um, just on a real note, imagine the damage that would be done if every smartphone went off at once as a small combustion. Y'all, it yikes. Um, yeah, here's more Diddy news. I'm gonna keep it moving. In wrestling news, as I mentioned last week, Drew McIntyre had his first cinematic debut in the Killers game, which I've not seen. I didn't have time to go to the movies this week, but was not able to make the premiere of his movie because of his own wrestling schedule. Now he's not like the star, but he is on the poster. And his friend and WWE compatriot Bailey took the time to go to the premiere in his stead and posed with his poster. Um, Yes. If you're a fan of The Office, trailer has now been released for the upcoming Australian remake of The Office. If you're not aware, there are versions of The Office in multiple countries all across the world in different languages, where characters are loosely used or moderately inspired, or they'll go completely different directions. This time, we are getting our first female boss and apparently female Dwight. Some of the casting is shifted around, but you can watch the trailer for it. It's just called The Office. It's on going to be Amazon Prime starting October 18th. And realistically speaking, it didn't look bad. As an Office fan and someone who genuinely enjoys Tristan says, I'm so sorry now if it sucks. Um, oh, are you apologizing for your nation? Um, Listen, we all have our different stuff, man. Um, I watched the British Office and I've watched the American Office. I don't know that I'm going to watch like any of the ones where I have to do subtitles for, which does exist, but um I think I could give this one a crack. And you know what, dude? It's just good humor. We're about to get an Office sequel show with the paper, which more of its cast was announced this week. Um where it is the exact same documentary crew, air quotes, from The Office following them around at this struggling newspaper. But I'm also still sad we never got the Dwight sequel, The Farm. Although I don't think it would have been good. But Rainn Wilson came out this week to say that he was struggling. That he had struggled in the past with not being as marketable as Jack Black or Will Ferrell or things like that. And he's like, why not me? But I get it. I hope the Australian Office is a banger. I really do. The world could use some genuine comedy. Okay, I'm not. Tristan Birch says he is. Don't told me not to judge him because he's not watched The Office. And here's the deal. Hey Jeff, good morning. The Office is not for everybody. It is dry humor, in a lot of ways, and the first season of the American version is almost a shot for shot remake of some of the episodes in the British version, and it didn't catch its stride. So the first season, I want to say 6 episodes. You've got to get through season 1 and 2 for the American Office for it to be good. There are moments that are good, but once they get through season 2, it starts to catch its stride, and even at its lowest points, it's still good for me there on out. But then again, now that I'm actually working in an office, uh, multiple hours a day, I'm finding it less funny because it's feeling more like real life. I'm dealing with scenarios on a daily basis that seem like parts of the office that got cut, and I don't love that part. But no judgment. I don't know. I know you live in Australia, but I would recommend watching the American version first because I will say this, the American version is better than the British version. Even just per capita, because the British version only has 2 short seasons and a Christmas special. The American version has 9 seasons. Um, so it is what it is. But it is like it's a cultural thing, and I think it becomes a comfort thing when you start to identify with characters and uh yeah, it's good. In terms of wrestling this week, Rikishi, who is the father of the Uso twins, Jimmy and Jay Uso, put out a tweet uh asking for prayers for his son Jimmy. And he said, "Dear God, prayers for strength and for help to continue." Um, and it said, "Stay prayed for my boy, praying for his son." Um, and that's it's one of those cryptic prayer request things. And Rikishi is a famous wrestler in his own right back in my time of the 90s, but he is the son of one of the biggest stars in the whole wrestling industry at the moment, and the other is on injured reserve. Um, but he threw out asking for prayer with that. We've official. Last I checked, it's official. Two more of the main characters for One Piece, the live action season 2, have been announced. Um, and The casting looks good. I ain't mad at it. Um, but Lara Abova, who I've never heard of, is apparently playing Nico Robin. And as I'm absolutely going to butcher this, Joe Manganiello, who is Deathstroke in the Snyderverse. He's the dude in the Magic Mike movie that does the dance in the convenience store. He's the guy who takes Pee Wee on his last movie adventure. He's big beefy hero-y looking dude. Um, he is going to be Crocodile. So that's gonna be fun. Um, in that terms of that casting. Netflix also put out the first image of Tony Chopper right here. The live action version where we get just a little back shot of him. And literally he looks just like this. So, but furry. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Um, the Passion of the Christ sequel will be filming in early 2025 with Jim Caviezel set to return as Jesus. If you weren't aware, The Passion of the Christ was a 90s adaptation of the story of the ministry and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And starring Jim Caviezel, directed by Mel Gibson, and the entire movie was in Aramaic with subtitles. So if you say, "Hey America, here's a Jesus movie," done by the guy from uh Lethal Weapon in a language you don't know. And y'all, this was one of the first movies in theaters in the 90s with subtitles. Just point that out to you. Um, and but it went on to do bonkers numbers. It still was one of the highest rated R-rated films of all time in terms of finances and things. But they're set to return for a sequel with it. Now, Mel Gibson has had a ridiculously checkered cultural vibe since this movie. And here's the deal. When you start to do public stuff for God, you get taken down hard. And whether that be your own actions or the enemy, Mel Gibson nosedived after making the first Passion of the Christ. Um, Not in a way, and he hasn't recovered in the same way since. Um, but the sequel is coming, and you know, in part, my opinion, uh, encouraged by the success of The Chosen and things of that nature, that's out there. 21 Pilots was on Jimmy Fallon last night and did a pretty cool performance there. I saw them on tour last Friday and it was fantastic. Uh, Still one of the best live experiences I've ever had. In terms of music, I've seen them 4 times now collectively, and hands down, each tour of the 3 tours that I've seen just are phenomenal in presentation. So, that was cool. They did a fun thing with that. Yes, covered that. Orphan Black Echoes, the sequel series to the sci-fi epic, uh, has already been canceled after 1 season. Reviews were not great. Viewership was not fantastic. It is one of those things that is an AMC show, so now that once it's completed, it'll end up on Netflix, and it may garner some more attention there, but it did not pick up the full attention of the original series, and the original series was kind of a cult hit anyway. Um, I'm gonna butcher her name, but the lady that played She-Hulk starred in the first Orphan Black series, and it is a mind-blowing sci-fi epic about cloning. Where the same lady that played She-Hulk played 14 different variations of the same person, all with different personalities, skill sets, and nationalities for the most part. Um, the newest iteration stars the lady who played Jessica Jones, and I've not watched any of it because I don't have AMC, and I was going to catch it when it was streaming at some point. So, uh, 1 season in and out. I reported last week that Chester Bennington's son was unhappy with Emily Armstrong being replaced or taking the spot as the lead singer of Linkin Park. And more family related to Chester issues, Chester's mom came out in terms of uh expression about this to Rolling Stone magazine, um saying that she feels betrayed because Mike and the band had told her that if anything were like this were ever going to happen, they would tell her first, and they didn't. Now, between 2017 and 2024, a lot of years have passed. I don't disagree with her. Um, and especially if they said they'd let her know, but also I don't know how much they wanted to run the risk of becoming a public scandal before they got there. I don't know. I don't know that it's a smooth situation, but you know, the backlash that they've gotten has not. I don't know that it's more than they've expected though, because they had to expect a lot of backlash in bringing Lincoln Park back without Chester. So, um, it does appear that Linkin Park's new iteration will be featured on the Arcane Season 2 soundtrack, along with 21 Pilots, Stray Kids, and a few others. as the epic animated feature comes out. There'll be more details on that in a second. Um, let's see. Angela Kinsley, who plays Angela in The Office, will be starring in a Hallmark Christmas movie this year, coming out on November 17th. And Kevin from The Office will be making cameos in the movie. You know the This Is Fine dog, the Everything's on Fire. There's a Funko Pop of it somewhere back here. I don't know. But the This Is Fine dog is creating a video game based on the character. So you're gonna get a This Is Fine dog video game coming soon in the near future. In one of the coolest and absolutely scariest science notes that's happening this week, Earth is going to temporarily get a second moon for a few weeks. September 29th to November 25th, a giant asteroid is going to fall into Earth's orbit, not into our atmosphere, into our orbit, and circle our planet like a moon. Apparently, just for that little 2-month stint. And then it's going to pack up and move on to where it's going next. But uh no, just knowing that we're gonna have a giant asteroid just chilling like in our parking lot is kind of scary, honestly. Uh, but there apparently isn't a cause for alarm, and that it's just going to be floating around there. If you please check out the science details on it, because I am not that guy and I'm going to tell you wrong information. But it is publicly covered. It's all over the place. But there is going to be an asteroid circling our orbit, acting as a second moon for 2 months. Um, this sounds like the start of a bad sci-fi story. Like, they thought it was just another moon, but it was so much more. Um, Pal World, the developer of the well, sorry, the Pal World developer Rocket Pair, Pocket Pair, um, is being sued by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company for multiple uh trademark and patent infringements. If you aren't aware, there's a video game called Pal World, which is an obvious Pokemon ripoff, except the Pokemon get to use guns and weapons. Christopher Reynolds, that's no moon. Well played, sir. And shame on me for not saying that, but well played, hands down. Nintendo is suing Pal World over multiple infringements of their characters that look like their Pokemon, and Pal World developer Rocket Pocket Bear says we have no idea what you're talking about. So we'll see how that goes out. But Pokemon already just won this week a $15 million lawsuit against a company that 100% put Pokemon in their own video games, like real Pokemon. In mashups, you definitely never needed. Chucky, the friend to the end, the monstrous murdering doll, is coming to Magic the Gathering. You will officially be able to play Magic the Gathering with Chucky and his associates from his film's library and the new Secret Lair crossover. So if you if you've ever been playing Magic the Gathering and you thought, you know what this game could need, a psychopath in a doll's body. Well, now Merry Christmas. It's coming. Um if you were not aware, Mr. Beast, YouTuber and philanthropist, air quotes, um, has made a deal a while back to have a game show, almost like a Squid Games level game show on Amazon. In fact, if you weren't aware, there had been some contention and uh, issues with the fact that Mr. Beast potentially created the concept of Squid Games first before it was taken and made into a series. Um, But Mr. Beast and Amazon are being sued um, over the treatment of the contestants on their series. Five unnamed participants in this um, are suing, and there are 2,000 contestants in the show. Five of them are currently suing, and they have filed class action lawsuits against both Mr. Beast and Amazon over alleged mistreatments, including inhuman conditions and sexual harassment. Now, it's not stated if the harassment was by any of the people running it or just other contestants. And I'm gonna just be real with you. If you put 2,000 people on a game show, it's not gonna go well just because we're douches. And I don't think you can get 2,000 people in one space without some of us being just horrible humans. Um, but the show has the largest cash payout ever of any TV series. The winner gets $5 million. So Beast Games is the name of the show. It is currently being sued by five people before it even comes out. So there's that. It's been revealed this week that and all the other news we've gotten about the DCU, the upcoming cinematic universe that James Gunn is creating for uh the DC content. Crypto, the Wonder Dog, um, the Super Dog, will be in the Superman movie. So we will get a live action Crypto uh in the Superman movie, which does track because they are also making the Supergirl movie with the young lady from House of Dragon, and Crypto is a huge part of that story if they're straight adapting the Tom King version. So you are going to get um Crypto the Super Dog in the movie, which, he got a little bit of shine when they did Super Pets a couple summers ago, but it will be neat to see him in live action personally. I'm kind of excited about it. Um, and other DCU news, though, Stephen Amell took to the podcast world this week to poo poo on uh James Gunn and John Cena and the world at large for not having more respect for the Arrowverse. Uh, Amell specifically referenced the fact that in the Peacemaker series, um, Smack is talked about Green Arrow. Now, there's no reference that they were talking about the CW series Green Arrow, just the character in general. Now, I will say this with a grain of salt because Peacemaker talks about everyone in that series, from Batman to Aquaman to every other DC character. He talks immeasurable amounts of smack about those characters in great depth. Um, but apparently, the one line that really set him off was that somebody said, "What about Green Arrow?" And Peacemaker's response was, "Green Arrow is the back half of a Twilight Sparkle cosplay at a brony convention," which is a very, very deep nerd cut to even get all of those references. But Amel took it as an offense to say that, he worked harder than any other non-powered superhero actor in the last couple decades, and their show deserves more respect. And so I, you know, I think he might be being a little sensitive on that, but I get it. When you're the underdog of the underdogs, it can get pretty dicey out there. Um, the infamous Madden curse has affected basically the San Francisco 49ers as Christian McCaffrey, the former Carolina Panther running back, is out for 4 games after being on the cover of Madden, which, that's how it goes. Sophia Falcone, who is in the new Penguin series, as well as the 12th Doctor and the young lady that played Cassandra Nova, are all going to be in the new upcoming season 7 of Black Mirror. And I'm gonna just tell you this: the young lady that plays Sophia Falcone in the Penguin, fire. She is a bit scary. Well done. looking forward to seeing what she's gonna do with this. Um, and the fact that you're gonna get the Doctor, my Doctor, the 12th Doctor, as on Black Mirror, I think that's going to be absolutely fire. So that's coming. There's a TV series of 300. Zack Snyder is making his own TV adaptation to his beloved action film. Um, and yeah, um, that's gonna be fun. It really is. I don't know that it's gonna be something I'm gonna watch every week, but I'm pretty sure I would binge it. But that's coming. It's in progress. If you're a fan of Castlevania, the anime, Castlevania Nocturne is returning to Netflix January 2025, which I've been pretty impressed with everything they've done so far. In terms of anime, in terms of lore, of giving a property I grew up with on Nintendo such life in this. And the first season was written by Mark Waid, who's a fantastic comic book writer. Do, 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 do. There is now, if you're a Spectrum user, if you're still one of the people out there using Spectrum, you're going to get Max for free now, or you're going to have the option to. Boz Lerman, the man responsible for the 1998 or 9, whatever year it was, Romeo and Juliet, Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, yes, as well as Moulin Rouge, is now making a Joan of Arc movie, and I'm pretty pumped about that. So the guy who made Moulin Rouge and Romeo and Juliet is now making a Joan of Arc film. If it's a musical, it's gonna be fire. But if not, it's okay. But Baz Luhrmann is making a Joan of Arc movie. Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft is an animated series on Tomb Raider. Is going to hit Netflix October 10th, and Haley Atwell, who plays Agent Carter slash Peggy Carter slash Captain Carter, whatever you want to call her, is going to be playing Lara Croft. Uh, EA and Star Wars have confirmed that they will wrap up the Jedi Survivor slash Fallen Order storyline, Cal Kestis' storyline, with a third game in the franchise. Like I said, one Chopper got his one piece. Arcane, season 2 will be 3 acts, ACTS acts. Um, and they're going to debut 3 weeks apart. So Act 1 will debut on November 9th. Act 2 will debut on November 16th, and Act 3 will debut on November 23rd, right before, we get our Thanksgiving break and all. And I'm just going to tell you this, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, and if you've not watched Arcane Season 1, you probably should. It was a masterpiece. Acting, music, banger, absolute banger. Um, Dark, deep, good storytelling, and I know it's based in the world of League of Legends, but I had 1000% zero knowledge of League of Legends other than I could recognize the cosplay of Jinx. And this was fantastic. My kids loved it. I loved it. Look forward to it. Um, yeah. Uh, one of the things that I'm super pumped for is there's an Alex Cross TV series coming to Amazon. I have been reading Alex Cross novels. James Patterson's the author. Alex Cross is a detective slash forensic psychologist. He does all the copy things. He is a detective based out of Washington, D.C., and he's got a bajillion books written about his character. We've seen movies like Along Came a Spider, Kiss the Girls, Cross. He's been played by Morgan Freeman. He's been played by Tyler Perry in the one film that Tyler Perry got cast as because Idris Elba exited the film with no time for them to do anything else, and Tyler Perry got cast. Um, Cross is now going to be played by the young man who played Hawkman in Black Adam. And there's a series that is coming to Amazon. And one of the best things about this is that if you've ever read any of the Alex Cross novels, Alex Cross has an essential team and family around him. He's got his former wife, his grandma, his kids. Um, but one of the biggest things that's been missing in the storyline anytime they've done it cinematically is that he has a deep brotherly relationship with a dude named Samson, and they've said that they're going to make Samson a key part of this storyline. So it will premiere on Amazon Prime on November 14th, and I'm super excited about that. That's about as good as you can get. If I turn the camera around, there's a bookshelf that way of just Alex Cross novels, and I've literally been reading them since I was in high school. Um, yeah. Miley Cyrus is being sued by Bruno Mars over the song Flowers. If you aren't familiar, um, Miley Cyrus had a song written about her. Um, Liam Hemsworth, her former romantic interest. I don't remember if they were married, boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't remember all that. Um, Liam Hemsworth had Bruno Mars write a song for Miley Cyrus called When I Was Your Man. After Liam Hemsworth's infidelities, Miley Cyrus took the song When I Was Your Man, flipped it on its head, um, and basically wrote a counter song to When I Was Your Man, because the song says, I could buy you flowers, I write our name in her sands. Like, she basically took every point that's made in When I Was Your Man and flipped it as an independence anthem. Well, now Bruno Mars is suing her for plagiarism. Imagine your ex-boyfriend has one of the biggest musicians in the world to write a song about you. You use the concept of that song to write a song about your independence from that boyfriend, and then the musician sues you. Shenanigans. Absolute shenanigans. Um, I don't even know where I would land on that one. Sons of Anarchy star Charlie Hunnam is going to be playing notorious serial killer Ed Gein in the upcoming season of Monster, which is a series on serial killers and such. But seeing Jax Teller playing a serial killer is going to be pretty interesting. Yeah, Mayor of Easttown. Dave Batista, Emilio Vovovich will be starring in George R.R. Martin's Lost Lands coming in 2025, because George R.R. Martin will do absolutely anything but finish writing the Game of Thrones books. Uh, Elizabeth Olsen was quoted this week in an interview saying that she is open to coming back to the MCU as Scarlet Witch. She said, I would like to figure out how to cleverly be undead. So she would like to come back if her character can be handled well. Uh, in deep cut Christian music news, Stephen Curtis Chapman, who was considered oldish music when I was a teenager, but still has put out banger after banger, and a million people have danced to Cinderella at weddings. Um, Stephen Curtis Chapman is being inducted into the Grand Ole Opry on November 1st, because Homeboy's never getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but the Grand Ole Opry is a fitting substitute there. If you were familiar with comedy in the early 80s and 90s, you may be familiar with the character Ernest P. Worrell. You know what I mean, Vern? You know that dude? Um, that A new story for Ernest is being brought to life in the form of a graphic novel comic book. It is endorsed by the actor's family, and basically has Ernest take on a giant quest that gets to mystical levels, almost like Army of Darkness. So if you're a fan of the character of Ernest, Ernest Goes to Comics is something you should look up because it's coming, and you know that's totally happening. In scientific news, uh, Cornell University is further trying to bring about our next apocalypse. Researchers at Cornell University have come up with a way to hook fungus up to robotics and allow the fungus to control the robot's motions. Y'all, this is The Last of Us meets Terminator, and y'all are just messing around. Y'all just out here doing more than the most. But Cornell University put a biohybrid robot, um, which allowed a mushroom to send electrical signals to legs and feet of the robot, which allowed it to control around a room and move. This is why we can't have nice things, y'all. This is why we can't have nice things. Because y'all giving mushrooms robot bodies, and we're all gonna get decimated. Shenanigans. Um, China built a $2 million escalator that takes visitors to the Tianyu Mountain in the Zhejiang province. Um, up the mountain. If you're familiar with that, you've seen it in iconic films and things like that. It's a long 1,000 foot hike up a mountain. Um, Normally the hike takes 50 minutes to get up there. Now it takes 10 minutes with the escalator. So they're trying to increase travel and things like that. So that's kind of cool. Um, oh, low key glad when political season stuff is over and we stop being horrible. Um, there was another shooting attempt on former President Trump at his golf course in West Palm Beach. Man had a uh, AK-47. Shots were fired. No one was hurt. With that, do 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 do. On the walkie-talkies in Lebanon, uh, there were 9 that died with the pagers. 20 died with walkie-talkie explosions a few days later after the pager attack. Um, and 450 were injured in the walkie-talkie attack. So, almost 30 people were killed and um, almost 2,000 people were injured in these attacks just using technology. A Chinese zoo is the um you gotta look up these pictures. Just do me a favor when I tell you this, look up these pictures. It'll make your day. A Chinese zoo is under fire for fake pandas. Oh, a Chinese zoo has painted big fluffy dogs to look like pandas, like sheepdogs. It's painted them to look like pandas and put them in enclosures and tried to fool people, and that's bad. No. Oh, yeah. Uh, couple other things just to tell you about. If you are a fan of Mumford and Sons, um, Mumford and Sons has put out a live album compilation called Gentlemen of the Road, um, which features various performances from their live efforts in the last X many years of their career. Um, to my understanding, there's no new music on it, but it is live music from different places. Some of it is from their live album Red Rocks, but not like a lot of it. Um, but that's totally a thing and totally there. Uh, The Penguin premiered last night on HBO Max and is a very gritty, nice um, installment on the Batman universe and a solid mob show. Uh, and I thought the some of the characters were well played, interesting and charming, and yeah, I can see this winning an Emmy for makeup and prosthetics and things like that. Um, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a good watch. Well, I think that's it for news. Oh, I also dropped a new devotional this week. If you're a fan of Baldur's Gate, I dropped a devotional on Karlach. I'm about to start doing one on another One Piece devotional. Sorry, y'all that don't watch One Piece or care. But I am going to do a One Piece devotional, and then I'm also going to be putting in print form the last three geek churches that I've done that were kind of unique with those things. So those will be coming, or at least the last two. Um, but that is coming as well. So let's do some Bible reading real quick. Got my 30 dice. What do I got here? There we go. So rolling dice, 3 20s and a 10 for up to 70. And then subtract 4 from whatever you get, and that's what book of the Bible we're gonna read. So let me move these out of the way. Just gonna read one chapter of scripture and go on about our days. I learned yesterday because I was doing this with some friends. You basically got to roll at least a 20 if you're going to be in the New Testament. It's like these almost always end up in the Old Testament. I might reverse the numbers and count backwards in the future so I can be in the New Testament a little bit more. All right. Because it's early and I'm not trying to math. Um, plus 18 plus 13 plus 2 plus, are you a 6 or 9? You are a 9. Oh, hey, we might be in the New Testament anyway. Um, maybe. So close. So close. We're going to end up in the 38th book of the Bible, which is 2 books from the New Testament. So close. All right. I normally don't, keep Bibles in cases and things, but I've gone through a lot of Bibles lately, just with travel and everything else, and the spines on them break and they look moderately raggedy. So I want to try and pages are falling out. So I want to try and not do that. Zechariah. Okay, let's see how many chapters are in Zechariah. Off the top, I bet just spitballing here, y'all that are watching this live. Anybody can quote a verse from Zechariah? So I can't. All right, Zechariah has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 chapters. Okay, so we're just going to roll a d20 and subtract anything that's not, and just roll again until we get something that's under 14. All right, so I'm going to go with this guy. 7. Zechariah chapter 7 is where we're at. Should have left the book open. Does this count as for ASMR? Page turning stuff into a microphone? I don't have them. Um, Zephaniah, which I think is where we were like last time. This time we're in Zechariah chapter 7. Oh no, my highlighter is way over there. All right. Zechariah. Ooh, I'm actually excited about this. Not that I'm not excited about the Bible, but this looks promising. Oh, there's a good highlighter. The heading on Zechariah chapter 7 says justice and mercy, not fasting. Hey, yo, I like the sound of that. Let's see what it says. Okay. Zechariah chapter 7, justice and mercy, not fasting. In the fourth year of King Darius. Hey, it's King Darius, the guy from Daniel. Um, in the fourth year of King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah on the fourth day of the ninth month, the month of Kislev. So apparently, at that point in time, the ninth month was Kislev. I like September better than Kislev. Um, imagine the song? Do you remember the 21st night of Kislev? Hey, um, says the people of Bethel had sent Sherezer of Regimelech. It sounds like a Pokemon. Together with their men to entreat the Lord by asking the priests of the house of the Lord Almighty and the prophets, should I mourn and fast in the fifth month as I have done for so many years? Should I keep doing religious stuff because I've always done religious stuff? That's the question. My little notes, just so you can't see what I'm writing. Should I keep doing religious stuff because I've always done it? I have a journal Bible. I'm not just like scribbling on top of the words here. All right. Verse 4. The word of the Lord Almighty came to me. Ask all the people of the land and the priests when you fasted and mourned in the fifth and seventh months for the past 70 years. Was it really for me that you fasted? Ooh, snap. Was it really for me that you fasted? Is the religious actions you take actually for God or solely for religion and tradition? And when you were eating and drinking, were you not just feasting for yourselves? Shnikes. Are these not the words that the Lord proclaimed through the earlier prophets when Jerusalem and surrounding towns were at rest and prosperous, and the Negev and the western foothills were settled? And the word of the Lord came again to Zechariah. This is what the Lord Almighty said: administer true justice, show mercy and compassion to one another. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the foreigner or the poor. Do not plot evil against each other. Hmm. But they refuse to pay attention. Ain't it? That's how it goes. Um, but they refused to pay attention, stubbornly turned their heart backs and covered their ears. Y'all, if this ain't us. But they refused to pay attention. Stubbornly, they turned their backs and covered their ears. You know that little emoji of the monkey doing the hear no evil, see no evil? Yeah. Yes, I'm absolutely drawing monkey emojis in my Bible notes. But they refused to pay attention. Stubbornly, they turned their backs and covered their ears. They made their hearts hard as flint and would not listen to the law or the words of the Lord Almighty. Cheese and crackers. That it sent the Lord Almighty had sent by his Spirit through the earlier prophets. So the Lord Almighty was very angry. Verse 13, when I called, they did not listen. So when they called, I would not listen, said the Lord Almighty. For y'all that are listening, I'm making a stank face because that's ugly. That sounds like me. Um, when I called, they did not listen. So when they called, I would not listen to them. Um, I'm going to make a note just to say this. This pairs well with Isaiah 59 um as one of the times where God says he's not listening to prayers. Um Isaiah 51 and 9 and 2 says that our sin separates us to the fact that, when we're actively sinning, we're putting a barrier so he's not actually hearing our prayers. And this in turn is another Old Testament passage that says that when if we're refusing to listen to him, why is he listening to us? Verse 14 says, I scattered them with a whirlwind among the nations. They were strangers, where they were strangers. The land they left behind them was so desolate that no one traveled through it. This is how they made the pleasant land desolate. And so, even making the indication that their inability to actually listen and respond to God made the land around them desolate. Sound familiar? Our response to God changes our literal landscape. Mm. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna chew on that for the day. Oh, so before I go, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for being so awesome and for being supporters, being listeners, being encouragers. If you're watching this on Facebook and YouTube, you can listen to it over on our podcast channel. If you're listening to this on our podcast channel, you can watch this over on Facebook and YouTube. Also, there is an audio version of the Carlac devotional as well as a print version if you want to check that out. And if you aren't a Baldur's Gate person, I think you could probably enjoy it anyway. Um, I think I try and set up the concept enough, but either way, hope that you find some encouragement this week. Before we bounce, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons. Woo, coffee. Don't fall. Okay, that's a horrible life choice. Um, take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for being so awesome. Hey, Lynn Turner. Um, up in here. Uh, so Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petite, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Candace Davis, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for being as encouraging and supporting as you have been. I don't know that I'm allowed to mention by name currently, so I'm not going to. Um, but I do want to say this. Faith and Fandom lost. I lost one of my favorite people in the world, and one of the most encouraging people I've met through con life. This past week to cancer. Um, they passed last Thursday. I found about it on Friday morning. Uh, right, literally is at while I was recording this podcast last week at this time. Um, I got a message from their family saying to call them, and they had passed from cancer. So I'm waiting until I'm allowed, until I get a legitimate, hey, you can mention this type thing. Um, but they're one of the people that have been supporting Faith and Fandom since 2015. They're on the the banner that's on the Faith and Fandom Facebook page with me, and think you can see it from here. Uh, no, you can't. Um, I'll mention them a little bit more later. Um, but I just want to say that y'all that support and encourage this, and even if I only see you at cons, you make a big impact and you matter. And I mean, I know I realize that a lot of the time anyway, but hearing that this person had passed just kind of like wrecked me. And about a year and some change ago, they sat with me at GalaxyCon Raleigh and talked to me about life for like 2 hours on a Sunday. And sad to see him go. Um and there were some sad circumstances around it. But again, it's not my story to tell at the moment. Um but just want to say I appreciate y'all and you matter. Um and grateful. And so if we've connected, just to say this, don't feel like it's one sided. If I've impacted you, you're probably impacting me too. And yeah. So I'm gonna stop crying on Facebook and get out of here. I'm not ashamed to cry. I just my nose is running. Woo. Uh yeah, I hope your week is good. I hope that God blesses you in ways that you're not even prepared for yet. And that you can, as we read in the scripture, that you can administer true justice by being merciful and being kind and compassionate. And maybe let's listen to what we're told instead of being stubborn. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen, to be encouraging, and I look forward to seeing you at a con soon, which my next con will be in Boone on October 5th, and then Fayetteville Comic Con on October 19th. I hope y'all have a great day.